Reading with your kids.
Hola, ni hao, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, morimuli wanji, namaste, jumbo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so honored and so wicked happy that you're joining us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Please be sure to tell your kids' teachers, the principal, their librarian. Please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, Stitcher Radio, Good Pods, Podcast Addict, wherever you find your podcasts. Our guest today is Amy Barron. She's here to celebrate her debut picture book. It's called The Gentle Bulldozer. Before we invite Amy into the studio, I want to let you know about a new project that we're working on here at the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's called Drawing with Your Kids. Just not too long ago, I just realized we have all these amazing authors on the show. We also have so many amazing author illustrators and illustrators come on the show. And I thought, how about we get these illustrators to create some short video lessons teaching kids and families how they can draw a favorite character from their books. We reached out to some of our past guests, and man, they were excited. You're going to love it. It's debuting late in December. You're going to be able to see the video lessons on our website, drawingwithyourkids.com. We'll have a link on readingwithyourkids.com. We're going to have a YouTube channel, and it's going to be like wicked fun, and you're not going to want to miss it. It's called Drawing with Your Kids, a new companion project to the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Joining us right now from the city of Cambridge. She's just a quick ride away on the T. Oh, wait a minute. There's no quick rides on the T here in Boston. Please welcome to the show the author of her debut children's picture book. It's called The Gentle Bulldozer. Please welcome to the show Amy Barron. Hey, Amy, how are you?
Hey, thank you so much for having me, Jedley. I'm great.
We're having a little bit of fun, poking a little bit of fun at our public transportation system here in Boston. Amy and I probably live 10 miles away from each other, but it could take a month and a half on our public transportation.
Better to bike, right?
Better to bike. Yes, if you make it alive. So congratulations on The Gentle Bulldozer debut picture book. How does it feel to be a published children's author?
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. I've been at writing for a long time, so it's very exciting to have a book out with the world, and I'm having a great time with it.
And it is out to the world, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But before we do, we have to find out what The Gentle Bulldozer is all about.
So the story is about an unfulfilled bulldozer. He works at the construction site with his family, and as expected, his job is breaking and destroying things. And while he's good at his job, he really doesn't enjoy it. So he feels empty inside, and eventually he's really having an identity crisis. He's a bulldozer, but he's gentle. What should he do? So he journeys away to find his true passion. And luckily, he meets a kind farmer who shows him that he can actually do so much more than just destroy. And he takes this new information back to his family. And together, they end up creating something. I won't share the ending, but they create something absolutely amazing. And they're all just delighted.
That's wonderful. That feeling of working this job and feeling unfulfilled, I don't know if it's a feeling a lot of 3- and 5-year-olds have, but it's certainly a feeling that a lot of 35 and 45-year-olds have.
Well, they're welcome to read the book too. But yeah, I think maybe, the 3 to 5, 4 to 7-year-old kind of set can think about it more in terms of, as something a little different. He's gentle even though he's a bulldozer. And at first he thinks, oh, this is a weakness. I'm going to hide this from my family. Something's wrong with me. And by the end of the story, he realizes that it's actually his strength. And this is actually the way that he's going to help the world. And by sharing the strength with his family, they're extremely powerful, and they're able to do something that they did not think was possible.
Where did the inspiration for this? So it's obviously not a midlife crisis on your part that inspired this book.
I hope not. Yeah.
Where did the inspiration come from?
So when I wrote the book, my younger child was 1 at the time. He's 4 now. As you know, the publication and illustration process is years. And he was having a lot of fun building with the magnetic tiles, and then he was just tossing them and, destroying what he built. And I got kind of tired of the tiles flying around. So I said, you know what, let's be very gentle and let's build the tallest tower that we can. And he had a lot of fun with that. But it got me thinking about a bulldozer who that's all he wanted to do, was just kind of build up the world very gently and carefully.
Neat. Isn't it amazing how we can be inspired by such little things?
Oh, yeah. And I think being around kids and listening to what they have to say, you really realize the little things that mean a lot to them that as adults we forget about or we just pass over.
Yeah. One of our past guests, Jane Yolen, who is a legend in the kidlit world and has written over 400 books, one of the things that she said to us is that there are stories everywhere. They're all around us. We just have to be aware and awake to be able to recognize when we see them.
I love that. That's great. And I definitely agree with that. Especially I think something about being outside and watching a lake or just, enjoying nature really is inspirational sometimes.
Yeah. So you're sharing with us that your son is now 4. So he was 1 and 2 and going on 3 during the pandemic. What was that like for you?
So I have an older child as well. So she was in kindergarten when Cambridge schools closed down. And yeah, I ended up, being at home with both of them. I had been home with my kids for a bit then. I'm an optometrist, and I actually had just made the plan to go back to work, and then I ended up being home with both of them, but I got a book published, so that was fun. We did okay, but I'm very glad that they're both back in school now.
Yeah. I think a lot of families share that. I'm very happy that we're able to get out into the world. We're able to get on the red line that doesn't take us anywhere fast. We were saying, I teased at the beginning of the interview that your book really is out there in the world. You're published by Yeehoo Press, and we've had Helen from Yeehoo on the podcast before and a couple of other authors. You have some exciting news. Not only is the Gentle Bulldozer available here in the United States in English, it's going to be in a couple of other big places too. Can you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so Yeehoo Press publishes their books in simplified Chinese as well. So it will be available in China, and they also are going to be selling it from their website in the U.S. in Chinese. And Helen just gave me the good news last week that a Korean publisher picked the book up for translation, and it will be released in Korean in spring of 2024. So not that I can read it myself, but I'm very excited about that.
Well, I was going to say that must be for an optometrist who just came up with this idea, playing Legos with your kid, and wrote the book during the pandemic, to have your debut picture book be literally translated into languages. And I'm sure that Korean and simplified Mandarin are not the only languages it's going to be translated into. Your book's going to be available to kids all around the world. How does that make you feel?
It's really cool. It's amazing. I mean, I still feel like I'm learning, but I do love the book, so I'm very excited. And the illustrator definitely had a huge role in this too. I mean, he's wonderful, Rogério Coelho, from Brazil. So, I mean, his cover is wonderful. So I feel like we worked together to create this book along with Yeehoo Press.
Now, this is I ask this question a lot to a lot of authors, and I'm imagining you've already experienced this, so you can talk from firsthand knowledge. I love to ask authors what kind of conversations we can have with our kids while we're experiencing an author's book together with our kids. I'm imagining you've already done that with both of your kids. So what kind of conversations came up while you were reading the books with them?
Yeah, so I have currently a 9-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy, and they both still love picture books. Luckily for me, because I like to get a big stack of them. I think it's fun. I like to get my husband in on it too, and I really think it's fun to go around and ask everyone's opinion at the end. Because you really can learn some things about your kids, and it's always fun to give your opinion. I like it if someone asks me my opinion, so I think my kids get a little twinkle in their eye when I ask them, what did you think about this?
We've talked a lot about that here on the podcast, and I like to bring it up because we do have new listeners all the time, but I don't think I can stress it enough. That simple question, when we ask a 3-year-old, a 5-year-old, what do you think? The most important person in that child's world is asking them their opinion, is saying to them, I'm really interested in what you have to say. I really value your opinion. I think that's incredibly empowering for a kid.
I do too, yeah. So I think they enjoy it, and then you also can learn something about what's going on in their head.
Absolutely, absolutely. As a parent of a 9-year-old, you're almost at that point. I'm going to give you a little secret parenting
Okay,
tip.
good.
So a lot of parents are always complaining about, I have to drive the kids. It's my turn to drive the minivan and all the kids to soccer. I hate it. Love it. Embrace it. Volunteer for it. Because as you're sitting in the front seat and they're in the back, they forget that you're there. They think that you're an Uber driver. And now suddenly you can learn what's going on in their world. They talk about everything. They have no idea that you're back there spying on them. And you just dig up so much information. And your daughter might be aware that you're up there and she might not be sharing stuff, but her friends are going to be just spilling all the beans.
How else are you spying on your kids, Jedley? I'm just kidding.
This is my kids right now are 26 and 29, so we're not spying on them anymore. But I mean, it's just,
I like that.
It gives you a glimpse into what's going on in their lives. It gives you a glimpse of their friends and how they interact with each other. And I jokingly say spying, but it's important to know what's happening in our kids' lives.
Yeah, I like that. That's a great idea. Yeah. And they do love to chat with their friends, so
they do
get a little info.
Yeah. And the one thing that you've probably experienced when your daughter or your son come home, you say, "So what'd you do in school today?" Nothing.
Right.
School? It's all right. But if you ask specific questions, especially if you have that, that information that you gleaned as you drove the minivan, and it's like, "Hey, well, how did Veronica's clarinet lesson go today?" And, gee, you know that. Okay.
Well,
good. We get all sorts of information.
I like that. Okay. That's good to know going into the 10, 11, 12.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have to ask, the success you've experienced so far with the Gentle Bulldozer, has it, one, inspired you to write more children's books, and or has it inspired you to learn how to speak Mandarin?
That's a great question. Well, I think that the second goal is going to take me a long time, but I mean, I would love to. I have been trying to, get a novel published for a long time, and I'm currently, I'd say, pretty much finished with the rough draft of a middle grade novel. So that's for age maybe 9 through 12. Mm-hmm. I didn't used to know what the word middle grade referred to. So it's not middle schoolers, but it's kind of like the step above picture books. Mm-hmm.
Yep. It definitely is not middle schoolers.
That's my next writing project, and I'm really excited about it. Just through writing, I've really become a lot better at plotting, and I think that's kind of where I was struggling with my first couple novels that sort of fell flat with the whole arc of the story. So this time it's really feeling good that it's working out.
Well, that's great. Well, that's, we're always learning. We're always growing. And
exactly,
there are too many people out there that write the first book and they say, this really isn't, I'm no good at this. And they tear it up and they give up. And the only time we fail is when we give up.
It's true. And when I wrote the first couple books, I definitely thought, oh, these are the ones. And now looking back, I'm like, those weren't even ready to be, submitted to anyone. They're not very good. So it's nice to actually see that and see the progress.
Yeah. So I'm imagining that writing was something that was always really special to you, something that you always wanted to do.
It was, yeah. I've always been writing. I've always loved writing, and I started submitting some manuscripts in college, but I was rejected, which is normal. And so yeah, I just always enjoyed it, and I do think during the shutdown here, it really gave me a nice outlet. So I used it to collect my thoughts.
Very good, very good. Just one other thing, we talked about, your success. Have you taken the time to sit down as a writer? You obviously have an imagination, and you can, picture things and visualize things. Have you taken the time to visualize that next year and the year after there are going to be families, not only here in America, sitting down, snuggled up on a couch, reading your book, but there are going to be families in China and Korea reading your books?
That is very amazing to hear you say that. It's very, very cool.
Yeah, well, and I say that because if there is somebody out there that's struggling and they have their first Force 3, 4, and it's like, oh, this isn't going well, and why should I keep going? That's the reason to keep going. Because someday you're going to do it, and there's going to be families. Maybe it's just 10 families in your community, or maybe it's families all over the world, but there are going to be families that they're going to be snuggled up, growing closer together, reading your book.
I love that. That's very beautifully put. Yes.
Sometimes I come up to, I surprise myself.
Very touching. Yeah. Sensitive.
Well, I'm really psyched that Gentle Bulldozer is happening for you. I do challenge you to learn Mandarin.
Okay.
We hosted international kids in our home.
We'll do it together.
Yeah. Well, I've hosted many from China. And every single one of them, I sat down and I tried to learn Mandarin with them, and all of them had the same advice. Stop. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't try. You're too old. We speak English. Don't even try. So I do know how to say hello, thank you, and I love you. So I think that's important. Hey, tell everybody where they can go to find out more about the Gentle Bulldozer and also find out more about you.
So I do have a website. It's amybarronbooks.com. And yeah, that website has a list of the local bookstores carrying my book, a link to Amazon, more about me, and everything else.
Yeah. And, we love supporting our local bookstores. What's your favorite bookstore over in Cambridge?
Oh, I can't give my favorite. I can't pick and choose.
Well,
but
a couple. What are the couple of bookstores you love in Cambridge? Because that's the one place in the world there's lots of bookstores.
So, in the past few weeks, I've been over to Porter Square Books, and MIT Press just opened up a new beautiful location for their bookstore with the children's section. And there's, Belmont Books is close by, and Harvard Coop. Brookline Booksmith is wonderful.
Yep, that is Brookline Booksmith. When I was a lad, it was called Paperback Booksmith, and I spent many hours there.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. So we love supporting our local and independent bookshops. So I would suggest you maybe give them a call and say, hey, do you have the Gentle Bulldozer by Amy Barron? No. Could you please get it for me? And they'll be there in a couple of days. We've had a great time speaking to the author of The Gentle Bulldozer. It's available here in the United States. It will soon be available in China and in Korea. And our guest has been Amy Barron. Amy, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Jedley. It's a pleasure.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We will be celebrating National Adoption Awareness Month. November is National Adoption Awareness Month, and we've invited Tom Tracy to return to the podcast along with his daughter, Alice Catherine. Alice Catherine is 6. She's beautiful. She's adorable. And the family is beautiful. And this is just a great celebration. We talk about the beauty of adoption. We talk about the fact that not every family is able to be an adopted family or to be a foster family, but there are lots of ways that we can support families who are making that choice. You know, there's over 400,000 kids in the foster care system here in the United States alone every single day. Every one of those kids needs a forever home. And just listen to Tom and Alice Catherine. I think you're going. I know you're going to fall in love with Alice Catherine. Tom has already been on the show, and he's a great guest. I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait for you to hear it. So that's the next episode of the podcast. We want to invite you to visit our website, readingwithyourkids.com. If you are a parent, you want to go there and sign up for our free online magazine. If you're an author, you want to go there to find out how you can be a guest here on the podcast. Find out how you can submit your book to our Certified Great Read panel, and also find out how you can take part in our monthly promotion program. You can find out about that and more by going to readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, I want to start by thanking our guest, Amy Barron. Please be sure to check out the Gentle Bulldozer. I also want to thank my team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Mirabella Q, Skylar Strauss, Jordan Saley, Stephanie Davila. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, we all want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.